Thank you everyone for joining us today. This is our third Companies Growing Companies session. So it's very exciting. And I'm Lynette Tremblay, the Vice President Corporate Affairs with Invest Alberta, and I'm going to be today's moderator. And for those of you who are new to Companies Growing Companies, this is a collaboration between Health Cities and Invest Alberta. Health Cities is a Canadian not-for-profit corporation that works with clinicians, innovators, charity organizations, and companies to develop new models of care that drive better health outcomes and economic growth in the health sector. And that is where the synergy comes in with Invest Alberta, because Invest Alberta is dedicated to investment attraction and growing in large part our life sciences and health sector, as well as our technology sector in Alberta. We work to provide tailored support to companies, investors, and major new projects. And we break down barriers so that investors and businesses can start up, scale up, and succeed without limits in our province of Alberta. So at this point, I'm going to introduce to you why we created Companies Growing Companies, but I'd like to launch a poll as I do that, just so that we can see who we have with us today. So the poll will ask you questions about what stage your business is at, ideation, scale up, startup, or established. And if you wouldn't mind just plugging your answers in there, then we can get a sense of what kind of companies we have joining us today. So why we made this series is really to support health innovation companies by connecting you with businesses that offer services in this sector, and thus the title, Companies Growing Companies, because we have a really amazing business culture in Alberta, where there's a culture of collaboration and supporting each other and helping other companies scale, grow, and succeed. Also, a big component of this is helping companies prepare for international markets, because as we know, the fastest way to grow your business is to go global, essentially. And so we also wanted to showcase what Alberta has for companies to learn, scale, and succeed. What we hope you'll learn today is how to navigate some regulatory requirements. We'll talk a little bit about branding and marketing, how to enter new markets, as I said, how to prepare to grow. So if you're in the startup or ideation stage, how do you prepare to grow? How to ensure viability of your company or product, and building a supportive network, which is really important to setting you up for success. For our poll, it looks like most of our companies in the startup stage, we've got some scale up and some established. So that's really great, because we'll be talking about how to set you up for growth. Today I'm joined by my panelist, Saher Gattas, CRO and co-founder of Flawless Inbound. Love the company name, by the way, Saher.
Thank you.
Flawless Inbound helps emerging and mid-enterprise organizations, so most of who we've got with us today, in your digital transformation journey. So today, Saher is going to talk to us about digital tools that can transform the way you do business. And he's going to give about a 20 to 30 minute presentation. And then after that, we'll have a portion where we open it up to questions. But feel free to put your questions in the Q&A function all the way along Saher's presentation, so that we can get to them at the end. And then we'll have a bit of a discussion. So without further ado, Saher, if you want to go ahead and share your presentation, and leave it to you to take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lynette, and thank you everybody for joining today. There's a reason why I have this picture. This is, by the way, this is a friendly Top Gun. This is the Canadian Top Gun, just to make sure everybody is okay with that. So now you are in this hot seat, in the driver's seat of your business, and you really want to take it to the next level. That's why I was chatting with the team, we're making fun, and said, I think maybe this is a good background for us to kick off and start our session today. Again, as Lynette said, please make sure that this is not death by PowerPoint. We just want to share ideas with you, share with you maybe how Flawless Inbound did it in Edmonton, Alberta. We were a local company that started in Edmonton, Alberta, and we're proud Albertans, and how we went national and now international. Almost 40 to 45% of our book of business is actually coming from the US and international as well. So what I'm going to share with you right now is some best practices, some maybe tools you can be thinking of when you're kind of growing your business. I think we spoke about my background. You don't need to worry about this anymore. But let's discuss first, what's the market condition that we have seen in 2020, 2021, and how it started in 2020 and how it's evolving in the future, which is really the post-COVID world. See, when in the past, when you're thinking about being a digitally ready organization, regardless of if you are health tech, mid tech, fintech, it really didn't matter. But we always say, hey guys, are you digitally ready in the background, in the operation, your systems? And maybe in the beginning, before COVID, to say, you know what, being digitally ready is okay, but it's not mandatory for me right now. As soon as COVID hit, we start saying, okay, you know what, maybe it's digitally first, and honestly, it's the only way for me to reach out to other clients and other prospects outside of Canada is digital only. Why? Because we knew that the trade shows and everything was shut down, completely shut down. So how are you able to build and grow your business in an environment like this? We'll speak about this today. But more importantly, here is what I'm going to kind of discuss in more details. What should you expect from a digital platform if you're building your own digital platform? And let me be very clear. I'm speaking about sales, marketing, and business operation. So 3 buckets. What should you expect from those buckets? And how can really sales and marketing kind of grow hand in hand while you're now either in a startup or in a scale-up mode? I want you just to look at this diagram just for a minute. We have seen that you should be somewhere here, a digital explorer or a digital player. So maybe by either show of hands or by a yes or no, maybe in the chat, how many of you as a team are confident that at least your business right now is fully running in a digital environment? And I mean by that you are self-sufficient, that you can do sales, you can open markets, and you can run your back-end operation fully without going to the office. Just by show of hands, yes, no, maybe, or maybe by chat, if you can put it in the Q&A or in the chat. And just reflect on that for a minute. That's the plan. Thank you, Thomas, who said, yes, that's the plan. So it seems you're going there. Getting close. Thank you, John. So John is saying, I'm kind of getting close to that. Okay, so we're getting some feedback. We're a blend, but we're most offsite and virtual. So that's Randy. Randy, good to see you again. So that's awesome. So I'll share with you guys why I had this background here, right? So I think all founders right now are saying, okay, now with what's happening, I need speed. I need actually not just speed, I need functionality. Can all the business be functional while I'm looking for the digital transformation or digital growth? So when we look at building your system or building your platform, sales, marketing, or business operation, we know that maybe scalability right now, maybe it's not our problem, but it's actually functionality. Can we actually be fully functional while we are doing things? So the basic thing that I will look at is, let's first look at your basics. So a basics in any business, sales and marketing and operation, is CRM. Everybody will say, we do have a CRM, but do we really have a CRM? See, if you're planning for a CRM or for optimizing your CRM, usually there are content, messaging, automation, reporting, and data mining that needs to happen in the CRM. Or are you right now using your CRM just as a data collection tool, just a place to add contacts in, just instead of putting it in an Excel sheet or a Word document? The challenge that if you're in a startup or in a scale-up mode, when I say CRM, it means different things to different people. That's exactly what you see in the market right now. That to do a full, proper CRM for your organization, you might find yourself duct taping multiple solutions together. So here's the first takeaway. If we're deciding on a CRM, a true proper CRM platform, there are a couple of things you need to look at. Single source of truth, an easy interface for my team to work from, and let me repeat this one, a unified code base. What does that mean? That if you want to launch the CRM and optimize things in it, you don't need to hire a developer each and every time because you want to adjust and optimize something. So those are the 3 main things if you are looking for a CRM system truly for your business. And there's great software platforms out there, but just think about those are kind of the core 3 things. Granted, we have done a lot of HubSpot implementation for our clients. We are using HubSpot ourselves as a CRM and marketing. It doesn't mean that HubSpot is the only way to go, but just I want you to start thinking about it this way. A place where I can gather data, and especially if I have the founding team in here, data analytics and data mining will be very critical for you. A place where I can actually have my marketing team put content and share this content with my sales team or even with my prospects. A place where I can start sharing the roadmap of maybe the services I'm having, the hardware, maybe you're working on an IoT tech component, like health tech component, and then a place that I can do automation. Because again, scaling is critical for me in this CRM. And hopefully in the center of all of this, client is my focus, client is my center. So I want to add value to my clients when I do this. So before I leave the slide, the key 3 things here, it's a single platform, not 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, because as soon as you add more into the CRM, this means it's not the right CRM for you. Easy interface and less coding required. Great. Let's move to point number 2. When now you are in the startup phase and you kind of breaking the ceiling and you want to go to the scale-up phase, I want to introduce to you a concept called the flywheel. So what's the flywheel? It's the ability for a founder and CEO to do 2 things. Spin this wheel fast and make sure that collaboration is happening between sales, marketing, and hopefully your service and delivery team. So how would you do that? Your mission, if you choose to accept it, here you go, Tom Cruise, number 2. Your mission, if you choose to accept it, is add force to this flywheel and remove friction. We have seen with a lot of organizations, sometimes to break the ceiling and move from a startup phase to a grow-up phase or a scale-up phase, is that the founder, co-founder are wearing a lot of multiple hats. Now, you can argue with me, but Seher, I don't have yet the budget to hire more leaders. Great, but at least if you invest in a system that can help you scale, maybe you'll get a quicker ROI. Till then, you have more time to attract more managers and more sales rep and marketing and operation, things like that. So again, when you apply the flywheel business concept in the business, this means that at least in the system that you will choose, you need to make sure sales, marketing, onboarding clients, and kind of focus on client messaging, it's all happening from within a single system. There are not 2 or 3 systems. Number 2, you need to define clear KPIs of what's the handoff from marketing to sales mean to you, what's the handoff from sales to service means to you, and back from service back to marketing. So what does this mean in simple terms? Imagine now that you're running a campaign to launch in a specific state in the US, and you're actually marketing for widget ABC, and you only can sell this to specific hospitals, and your decision maker is the chief medical information officer of this hospital. So that's like a CMIO, Chief Medical Information Officer. That's actually a title, and they own the budget for technology for the hospital, and they are kind of doctors or nurses who understand kind of their field inside out, but they have a budget to buy technology for the hospital. So if you go the traditional route by just writing blogs, hiring salespeople to do selling for you, and then hopefully things come out, we have seen that sometimes it doesn't work out properly. The first thing I would suggest is applying a program called ABM. So ABM stands for account-based marketing. You have a specific lists of target named hospitals that you want to go after. And then you even go in and do a little bit of LinkedIn homework to understand who is the CMIO in that hospital. I'm just kind of focused on that example for now. And then you start asking your marketing team to build specific landing page to connect the widget that you're selling to them, the exact feature function, to the business need that actually the CMIO is looking for. Then the final thing is hopefully this landing page is video enabled. So you're going to use a lot of videos to communicate the message before even you start doing an introduction email and a sales process. To be able to do that, you can do that in a single platform called the CRM if it's designed properly. So then the CRM can see the first touch point when somebody came to your website to the point where now you or one of your sales team start engaging with them to the point that now you sign the contract, maybe it's a multi-year contract, to the point of servicing and onboarding that client. Again, there's a lot of CRMs out there that can do that. I know firsthand that HubSpot can do your 3 pillars easily, assuming you have the right license and you're implementing it properly. Then, my advice is, as soon as you have the CRM in place, there are 6 core business functions that you need to have to enable you properly. Okay, first, you need to ensure that your financials are done properly and in place. So maybe you're thinking about a QuickBooks tool or a NetSuite tool or other platforms, but financial reporting will be very critical. You know why? Because maybe right now you are in a stage where investors are looking to invest in your organization. So maybe you are looking to raise capital. Maybe you are looking to, write convertible notes or other kind of investment tools, looking for other investment tools to collect this capital and inject it in your organization. No investor will invest in your company if you don't have a financial system properly in place. When I speak about a financial system, sure, we can argue, sure, we can do this in Excel sheets or QuickBooks, or we have a bookkeeper doing this for us, but I'm talking about a little bit of a sophisticated financial system. So a financial system that actually maybe connect with your something called an item manager, item management, lead to quote, order to cash, return to credit, procure to pay, and return to debit. Let me go quickly through that. Of course, before I go there, you need to understand that this financial system should be easy for you to run any kind of reports if you're meeting with your investor. If you're running QBRs, like quarterly business reports with VC firms or the founding investors or the leading investor, that would be very critical for you to ensure that this is happening. So when I speak about the financial management, I'm expecting that this system should give me a charter of account, journal entry, budgeting, reporting, tax schedules, especially if you're selling into the US. I know that you guys attended another 2 sessions before where they're speaking about there's different taxes and how to sell, how to collect taxes. So you need a financial system that can understand US and Canadian tax. And for example, we have seen that NetSuite can have the ability to understand different tax jurisdictions. So this is something just take a note of. QuickBooks can do that for sure, but you might need different entities of doing that. The second thing, maybe some of us on the call right now are actually kind of more doing assembly or essential manufacturing, which means maybe you're selling a widget, a hardware, a software, maybe a hardware plus consulting. Maybe you have a component of onboarding plus maybe a lab kind of engagement, and then you're going to sell kind of contracts that can stay for 5, 6, or 7 years. So your financial platform now is evolving to be an ERP solution, an enterprise resource planning solution. So you need to ensure that whatever platform you choose can do the basic functions called item management process, right? So procuring raw data, procuring raw material, assembling this raw material, picking, packing, and shipping this raw material, shipping it to your clients, ensuring its land, and so on. This is, by the way, not rocket science. Again, there's a lot of platform that does this as modules in the platform. I'm not trying to overcomplicate, but those are basics of systems that you would need in a platform like that. So item management process will be very critical for you to truly digitize your operation. So when we speak about digital transformation or digitizing my operation, it's not just about me running webinars, having a good website, and maybe a chat bot on a website with a couple of blogs. It's really the whole back-end operation with sales, with marketing, with service in a single system, easily collaborating together. The third thing is, hopefully now sales are coming, so you need to start writing quotes. You need to start invoicing properly. And what if I can even automate some of that? So imagine here, this is a basic flow of managing a lead. Lead comes into you managing an opportunity. Now it's a prospect. Now I'm sending them a quote and invoice, and now I'm actually informing my inventory management, my inventory manager that we need to ship something either in Canada or the US. So there is a process here called lead to quote. This is another process that you need at least to have it documented somewhere or highlighted somewhere. How about order to cash? Order to cash is another process where now you're actually kind of you're kind of collecting cash, and you're kind of through online or through an e-commerce platform. But somehow it needs to be documented somewhere. Either now you're a founder, co-founder, managing this channel as well, or maybe you hired somebody full-time to manage this channel for you. Regardless, that needs to be in your own system, not outsourced, and it needs to be in your system that you can manage and report on. Return to credit, that's another process as well that needs to be there. And I know this is not a presentation for accountants or bookkeepers, and nothing wrong with that. But you as a business owner need to understand that those processes are at least documented for you. Sometimes things happen in operation where maybe a client is returning a product or returning a services. So you need to have a process on how to do all of that. And it's all need to be digital. It's all need to be cloud-based to do that. Procure to pay, I'm assuming you're now going in, you're buying raw material, equipments, maybe you're buying office furniture, you're renting offices in remote locations, the market is opening, we know that. And there's a lot of things happening. So do you have a process to manage and control and kind of secure all of that as well? And of course, the last thing is return to that debit. So, if you're working with a vendor, the vendor did not deliver properly on time, so there need to be a balance. Actually need to have a system to grade your vendors that you're buying, let's say, raw materials from, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So which vendor you're getting better prices from, that actually help you negotiate pricing there as well, and kind of be doing other things. So if you can see here, if I said, yeah, QuickBooks can do all of that, yes, but you always need another software component plugged into a QuickBooks like that. So be careful with what we call the hairball problem, right? So now you have a CRM, which, by the way, QuickBooks is not a CRM. So you have a CRM, and then now you have QuickBooks doing some of that, but now you need to do everything else that I said to truly digitize your operation. Then we have a problem, right? So we know that there are other platforms out there, again, like HubSpot or NetSuite or SFDC or the big Oracle or things like that, but there are some of them already priced for the startup and the scale up kind of organization that can actually help you connect together. So my takeaway out of all of that is decide on what system and what process you need to digitize. And then as soon as you do that, take your time to pick the right system that match what you really want to digitize, and then start working on it. As soon as you start investing in all of that, then you start seeing all your dots are connected, and hopefully start getting ROI on your time, which is the most expensive thing right now. If you're a startup or a scale up, usually founders or co-founders are almost doing 90% of the work, and you guys kind of are wearing multiple hats. The future for where things are going, this is something I want to share with you. This is something that we are applying for Flawless Inbound or for a lot of our clients. We call it the unified customer experience. So when I asked you in the beginning of the session today, is the back-end operation is truly digitally transformed? Do you have the right system and the right process in place? Eventually, you as a founder CEO, you should be saying, if I want to optimize my operation, you should think about a framework like this. A unified customer experience. Customer is the center, customer is the focus. They will be responsible for top line revenue for you. But then, how can you maintain them? How can you keep them? How can you grow them? The true return on investment on digital transformation is this model. If I can, in a single system, maximum 2 systems, if I can achieve all of that. So let's say the e-commerce, the in-store, the marketing, the sales, the service, this kind of the front end side of things, right? But how about the back end side of my operation? I want to start getting some kind of customer intelligence, maybe a little bit of BI, business intelligence, or I do some kind of data mining to understand that this hospital in the US usually put in an order of 100 units once a month. How about if my system can actually forecast that and actually start maybe requesting for you to start buying raw materials early in advance? So that's called intelligence. And we call this like insight, orchestration, machine learning. There are platforms actually that comes in, and this is not like expensive pricing. There are very basic platforms that come in even for mid-sized organizations that can support that. Financials, now I think you would see, yeah, if it's just credit, debt, account receivable, account payable, sure, that's basic with QuickBooks. But now if you just let QuickBooks do that, and then you have 4 or 5 other applications doing other things, now you're back in the kind of the hairball problem. There's multiple duct taping technology solutions that you have. That's not really digital transformation. That's called digital duct taping. And we want to move you away from digital duct taping to digital transformation. So that's kind of, I think, the platform that I'm hoping you guys would be at least asking for and looking for, because that will help you. And of course, the final thing is we all know we're doing all of this at the end of the day to, again, increase the spinning of the flywheel, adding force and removing friction. So the customer always need to be in the center. So a single system, connect with your marketing and sales, a unified branding and content, and everything in one place. So just, I know I'm kind of respecting the time here, guys. You would see that this is usually where you put a plan for a year, 2 years, or 3 years for your organization to go to this model, a unified customer experience. And this is usually where things should go from there. So before I go to any questions, I know this is like I was trying to finish in 30 minutes quickly, and I know I was kind of going very fast here. Before we go to the final questions or anything from what I said, let's say I'm going to go slide by slide to see, have you guys implemented any of that? I'll go first to item management. But just by show of hands in your chat, how many of the team attending today are actually assembling or building, let's say, medical equipments or IoT equipments right now, either in your organization or you're outsourcing some of the assembly? Just write yes or no in the chat. Okay, I'm just looking at the chat. Yes, perfect. So John, Randy, yes, John is saying yes. Okay, perfect. And please just engage in the chat so that we can help you and more. So I'm assuming if some of you guys are building that in-house or assembling, and yes, the presentation will be available for sure. I think Thomas was asking for that. So if some of you guys are, if some of you guys are involved in assembly, we call it essential assembly, or even outsourcing some of the assembly, it's very important that when you're picking a platform, make sure that the item management component is there. That's number one. Question number two. How many, I'm assuming all of us, but let's say, how many have the lead to quote process nailed down? You have it in a flow diagram, and it's programmed somewhere in a system, not in your mind, not on a piece of paper, and not on an Excel sheet. Okay, John is saying, not me. Thank you, John. You're honest. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, working on it. Okay, so that's good. So this is very important, because this is the second thing that really, as founders who are moving from a startup phase to a scale-up phase, we really need to start getting this process out of our mind into a system, so that when we start hiring more teams, we don't need to explain it each and every time. It's in a system. And a system here, I don't mean an Excel sheet. I mean truly in a system that can automate some of those processes. Very important. Third one is order to cash. You guys know where I'm going with this, right? So if you go to each and every slide that I shared with you, you need to take this back to your organization and say, team, do we have that documented, programmed in a system, and can we automate some of this? Your mission as a founder CEO is to bring efficiency to your team, especially if you're in a startup phase. As soon as you answer all those questions and hopefully get away from this digital duct taping to digital transformation, then eventually you will be working towards the unified customer experience model. I think that's my time. So I will now pause and ask you guys if you have questions. Vanessa, I'm hoping I'm on time.
You are. You're just fine, Zaher. Okay. Or should I say Tom?
Exactly.
If you want to stop sharing your screen, that way everybody can see, and we can get into the questions. What we might do just before we launch into questions is we're going to launch another poll. Thanks to everybody who's been very responsive to Zaher's questions, but we'd like to know, when it comes to international markets, where are you at? So there's 3 options there. If you're only interested in doing business domestically, if you want to do business internationally but haven't yet started, and then if you're already doing business internationally. Just helps us get a sense of where everybody's at. And then I have a couple of my own questions I'm going to launch in with. I've started writing them down as you were going. This is really timely on a personal level, because Invest Alberta is just getting our CRM system going right now, and it's quite the process. But so this was really helpful for me. But yeah, it was it's a really important process, I think, for your business efficiency, especially when you've got teams that aren't all located in the same space, right? We've got teams all over the world. So we've got about half and half, businesses who only want to work domestically, those who want to work internationally but haven't yet started, and then somebody who's already working internationally. So maybe I'll just pick up where you left off, Sahar, and just a reminder to the participants, please go ahead and throw your questions into the Q&A. There should be a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen there. So Sahar, for those who don't have any or all of those processes locked down, where should they start? So you said go back to your teams, but if their team says no, what's the next step for them?
I think the next step is kind of figure out what's the main core rock that you want to push forward. Let's be honest here. Some organizations must say, you know what, Sarah, I don't want to even speak to clients right now. I need to kind of just figure out my product launch. Then honestly, don't worry about the CRM now. Worry more about maybe optimizing your product. So maybe you're in MVP phase or something like that. Maybe at that point in time, you would look for a system like a very basic ERP system, especially if you're building some of your products in-house or doing essential or assembly. If you are saying the product is almost there, and I believe in, by the way, perfection is the enemy of execution. I believe in that. So if the product is almost there and now you're about to launch, I think the next step is, okay, so now you need a CRM system, a real CRM system. There are a lot of free out there, and we know why they're free, CRM, because maybe they're not doing what you're looking for. So there are CRM systems that grow with you, right? Starter, professional, enterprise license. And I would suggest look at those kind of CRM systems. They will help you grow with you. And as soon as you start understanding and optimizing your sales process and maybe growing and hiring more sales rep, you really need the CRM, because now your sales rep will be in that CRM. And now you can coach them, you can empower them, you can forecast. And more importantly, if some of the teams here are having maybe VC money or backed up by investors, investors will be asking for monthly or quarterly reports. One of the core things is not just your financials, it will be how much sales, how are you doing in sales velocity, how big is your deals. So the CRM will be actually a tool for you in internal optimization and building your sales team, but also as a reporting tool for your investors, which then hopefully in the next round of funding, it will help you to capture more capital to inject in the organization to grow.
And I would imagine too, startups and scale-ups see a certain amount of turnover in staff. CRMs definitely help to create some resiliency in your systems against any turnover in your sales teams.
100% happens all the time, especially in the startup world. You're absolutely right.
So speaking of sales and then marketing, you mentioned how they should be working together. How would you suggest people go about getting their sales and marketing teams to work together? They don't always speak the same language.
That's why the cup of coffee here is very important. This is the best thing ever. If you have your marketing manager and sales manager in a room, and as a leader, just step back and look at the dynamics. It's beautiful, right? So the marketing team is giving your sales team leads. Your sales team are telling your marketing team, no, those are not qualified leads, right? So of course, I'm just having fun here. But I think one of the key things as a leader is you need to, if you remember the flywheel, we need to remove friction. The first friction point is exactly, Lynette, what you're saying, sales and marketing alignment. So a CRM tool that actually can truly give you a 360 view on the multi-touch points that a prospect maybe was looking at your website, maybe evaluating your products and services against competition, maybe attending a webinar, downloading a case study, all those kind of things. If you have the right CRM tool, the CRM will actually kind of be the investigator. It will give you a report that Seher came to your website 3 times. Seher then attended a webinar, and he downloaded an ebook and shared it with your chatbot. So at that point in time, we know that maybe Seher is a prospect, is qualified. So we can program the CRM to say this is an MQL, a marketing qualified lead. Don't get it too excited. It's not a sales qualified lead. There's no dollars attached to it. He's just an MQL. So now your sales rep need to engage and use the rest of the CRM to do a proper follow-up, ask for a discovery meeting, maybe engage in a statement of work preparation, maybe start having kind of pilots and a proof of concept engagement and so on until hopefully kind of you land the bigger contract, a multi-year contract, things like that. Hopefully it's the same CRM. So then at that point in time, you can see how many MQLs are in place, how many SQLs, sales qualified lead, that are in place. What's your conversion rate from MQL to SQL? And then what's the conversion rate from SQL to real won deals, people who sign contracts for you? So then a proper CRM is removing or helping in removing the friction points between marketing, sales, and delivery, if everybody remembers the flywheel that we're discussing. And it's the same CRM where me as a leader now, I can run a report without the need of a developer to write a piece of code for me. I can run a report to show my investor that this is how many deals I have, this is how many prospects my marketing team is bringing, this is how many closed deals that I won and signed, and here's the full ROI so far on my operation. That is, to me, that's a true CRM. And there are platforms out there that can do that.
And as you said before, you get what you pay for. So if your CRM system is free, chances are it's not going to be the best.
It's free.
For you.
It's, yeah.
So we have a question from some participants for a startup, and I hear this a lot as well. For a startup that's balancing multiple priorities, setting up a CRM is a challenge. Some of them startups don't even have a website to start out with. So would you suggest focusing on building brand through targeted social media marketing, or should they be focused more on building that website and getting inbound traffic to their site? And I'm assuming the second part to that would be because the website can be linked into your CRM.
So correct. So I think, of course, it depends because I don't know all the details of the situation. We can argue. Again, I will remind everybody here, I personally believe in this, perfection is the enemy of execution. To me, it's okay to launch a website that's not 100% like perfect, but at least you're out there, something is going on, right? And then, yes, please choose a CRM that can host a website. I know HubSpot have the ability to be a CRM, a marketing automation tool, and actually HubSpot can host websites. You don't want to go that far? Great. Go and build your website on Wix. It's free, that's fine, but start there, no problem. And then have the ability to start marketing and kind of optimizing your message. I just have to be very careful of what kind of products and services you're having, because that's critical. So I would say just start with something. You need to have a website, because if let's say you reach out to me and say, hey, Sarah, by the way, I have this pen. I'm not going to ask you to sell me the pen. Don't worry about that. But if you have this pen right now and you're reaching out to me on LinkedIn and say, I have this green pen, is beautiful. The first thing I'm going to do is say, let me just go and check who you are. Where's your website? What do you do? Even if it's just a basic website, Wix, you build it in 5 minutes, right? Then from there, the next thing you need to tackle is crafting your sales pitch and making sure actually it lines up with my requirements. See, today, it's all about me. It's not about you. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. I'm just kidding. This means that when you sell something, it's about the prospects. It's about how awesome the pen is, why it's that green will help you more. I really don't care about all of that. I hope when you're reaching out to me, you truly understand my challenge. I don't want you to be passionate about your product yet. And I know each time when I speak with clients and say that, they really get upset from me, but it's more about helping me, not your product. And as soon as you really are good in doing that, then that's the time where now a true sales conversation happens. The other thing, Lynette, is I think when this is happening, it's a good feedback for my product team. Because now I know the feedback that's happening from a client. I can take this feedback from my product and dev team to enhance and really optimize the product. So then when I'm really launching it from an MVP to alpha to beta to full scale operation in manufacturing, then I'm kind of trying to get it right, which it's the simple definition of lean and agile manufacturing or lean and agile operation. That's kind of what organizations are doing right now versus all days of waterfall. Let me wait 12 to 18 months. I'm building a secret. I will never tell anyone. Till then, I launched the website after 12 to 18 months and nobody knew what I was doing. See, that's the old way of launching, which is called waterfall. The new way of launching is no, day one, I want to tell you about the pen, but give me a feedback. I will optimize it and I will sell more of it. I'll stop there because maybe I'm taking you in a different route here.
No,
Does that
that's
make
great.
sense?
I think you know that also resonates with what we were talking about last week with Andau Medical, where it's not about your product, it's about your customer and about what pain point you're solving for the customer. So taking it in a different direction, but same principle, right? And speaking, you know, from the standpoint of an investment attraction agency, when we look at investors and companies, a website absolutely legitimizes you. If we're doing our due diligence on a company and you don't have a website, rightly or wrongly, it begs some questions. So it is and it doesn't have to be a Cadillac website. You put something up and you build it as you go. So there's another question in the chat here that I wanted to get to. You mentioned digital duct taping, or I loved the term hairball. So moving from that to transformation to digitization, how do you suggest a startup start with that? It can probably seem, and this is a bit of a similar question to the previous one, but I think different. It can seem overwhelming, I would assume, if you've got the hairball. How do you start to untangle it?
It is.
Where should they look first?
I think if again, like I think it really depends on what kind of, let's say, mid-tech company you are, right? So if you're more into hardware or kind of a cloud-based SaaS and things like that, and you feel that, okay, Sarah, I got the CRM side, I get the website part, but I feel now I'm doing digital duct taping, not really digital transformation, I would suggest looking to a simple ERP, enterprise resource planning solution. And I get it. I'm speaking enterprise resource planning, but I'm positioning it for startup, like something is wrong here, right? But there are very simple, price-effective ERP cloud-based solutions that I would suggest the team on this call can look at. And if you guys need more help, feel free to reach out to me to help you with that. NetSuite, for example, is a small components. You don't need to pay for big money to get there. It starts with a decent license per year, where it does almost the 6 process that is shared with everybody today. It's actually in the NetSuite process. Of course, it's a little bit more than a QuickBooks because it doesn't do digital duct taping. It does digital transformation. So you can enable maybe a platform like that. That can be maybe a starting point. If you are a founder CEO looking to focus on efficiency and optimization in the back end. If you're looking for efficiency and optimization in the front end, I would suggest CRM and website, if that makes sense. So it really depends on what are you tackling. Are you tackling top line revenue, or are you tackling net profit? If you're tackling net profit, meaning I want to make sure my back-end system are kind of collaborating, removing friction, because I want to reduce my operating costs and then show my investors my net profit and my EBITDA, not my top line, then what I'm hearing from you, that you want to do digital transformation in the back-end, ERP. If you're now focused on sales, don't waste your time now on the back-end, focus more on the front end, CRM, website, marketing and sales alignment, which a tool can be HubSpot or other tools that can do this for you.
So basically, know your business, know where your gaps are, and target those as a priority.
100%. And the numbers tell you a story. Look at your numbers right now. Mm-hmm. The numbers usually tell a story, but know how to read the numbers, and don't be worried. Maybe the numbers are not there yet. I totally get it. Everybody was there, and sometimes we are there, and sometimes we're not. That's normal. But just the numbers always tell you a story, not your gut feeling, not your friends, not a consultant who's trying to sell you a solution. The numbers usually tell you a story. So you need to be open enough to look at the numbers, say, the numbers are telling me I need to focus there first. Then that will dictate what direction you wanna go for.
Not just what you're most interested in. So a question that I think is probably more relevant now than it has been in years. And when it comes to remote sales teams. So I mentioned, even just for us, we have teams all over the world, but for any startup, I think now, COVID has really opened up this notion of remote work and hiring teams all over the place. But how would you suggest managing a remote team, sales team specifically? And, is that where the CRM can come into play?
So I'm going to share with you guys a framework. We used it. It's called EAT. And I'm assuming everybody had lunch. It's 1:47 p.m. Mountain Time. So I'm assuming
I'm already a fan.
Awesome. See, I told you. So EAT stand for enable, align, and transform. EAT. So a proper CRM, if you're choosing a proper CRM, first of all, it needs to enable your sales team to do what they do best. What does your sales team do best? Not logging a call, not adding a contact in the CRM, but actually telling the story, connecting with the prospect, being passionate about finding a problem that they are speaking with the prospect. So that E stand for that. So a CRM solution, if we can automate, if we can write sales scripts and everything and make it video enabled, so then your sales team doesn't need to write the email. They run a script, the email can be personalized. That's E. Number two, align. Please, please, please. Even if you have a sales process, make sure that you're flexible enough to align it to where the buyer is asking you, not where you want to take them in your sales process. That's called alignment. The other level of alignment is sales and marketing alignment. So the CRM, the right CRM, needs to align sales and marketing. That's number one. Number two, the right CRM needs to give you something called lead scoring. So lead scoring is saying, hey, Seher was on our website. He's so excited about products and services, but he's not ready for a sales conversation yet. Don't let my sales rep out of Austin call them to death, because they will blacklist you, right? But you know what? Have the sales rep based out of Austin with Seher maybe share an article. Tell them, hey, this article might be efficient for you. Then they can go into a video meeting, and then from there they can go into maybe connecting them with other clients who have used your products and services. So this is how remote selling is happening. And then the last thing, which is transform, is as a CEO founder, maybe you don't have a VP of sales rep yet, who manage the sales and marketing team. So you're maybe wearing that hat right now. So transformation here meaning coaching, the ability for you to really coach your sales team. And how can you coach your sales team? By gut feeling. You need to know first, what are they doing? Is it working or not? Having a sales playbook, and then you start booking a coaching call with each and every one. So a proper CRM, you can program sales playbook, and the sales playbook can tell you who's following that sales playbook, who's not following, who's struggling. So then you start coaching and transforming how they do selling. So we call it the EAT model. You can actually program that in the CRM, do it this way.
That's great. I for one am a believer. But let's, the next question I guess I have for you is, for those who maybe are a little bit more on the skeptical side still, what have you seen in terms of tangible differences between businesses who have done their digital transformation, or at least made an effort in that direction, and those who have not? What are the impacts or outcomes that you see, and the differences between the two?
You know what? As I said before, numbers tell you a story. Like the numbers say a story. So if you're skeptical, go back to your numbers right now and tell me, how much is your top line revenue? How much is your net profit? Are you still skeptical? That's my quick answer, right? So if your top line numbers are not moving up, if the deals in your deal pipeline are slower in moving, so then don't worry about believing stories. Look at your numbers and see, what do you want to fix first, right? And I can tell you something, especially in sales, usually in the past, we have something called hunters and farmers. Would you guys agree with me? Like, everybody heard about this before. Now, let me introduce a new job role for you. It's called fisherman. So fisherman is the new sales role. So what's a fisherman does? They kind of put the bait, they wait for the prospect to understand the value that your platform is bringing them. Then they wait, and then they have a conversation. They have kind of a long term. They're very patient, and they follow up with the prospects. So the fisherman style of selling actually is the new style of selling, like consultative selling and stuff like that. So that's one thing. The other thing is, we know right now that everybody wants to speak to a sales rep. Please raise your hand if you like to speak to a sales rep. Of course not, right? So now decision makers, they want to take their time to qualify if you are the right solution for them or not. How can you do that only relying on sales and just you can't, right? So you need a full system to really nurture that lead so that when the time is right and your sales rep is having relationship with them, then they can connect. So, and we have seen it. We've seen it everywhere. Sandler's training in sales are actually speaking about that. If somebody's familiar with Sandler's training in sales, they're actually speaking about that worldwide. HubSpot speaking about that. Salesforce is speaking about this model of remote selling and kind of digital selling. That's kind of the future. Even if trade shows are back, which they are, it's back in a hybrid model, right? So you need your CRM to kind of make sure it can capture all the models for channel lead gen moving forward.
Great. I only have one more question left because I see that we're almost out of time. This has gone by really quickly. And it's a question from the chat, but I think it's a great one, especially from an investment attraction standpoint, because what we do at Invest Alberta is constantly trying to articulate why choose Alberta. So from your standpoint, what is the advantage of starting a business and growing a business in Alberta? What is it about Alberta that that is better than anywhere else for doing that?
Of course, I'm biased because we started from Edmonton in 2014, and we had two near-death experience, kind of the battle oil crisis, and then COVID. But then we're growing and we're expanding. We have operations national and in the U.S. I think Alberta have the advantage of the entrepreneur spirit, right? So all Albertans, they started things themselves. They were farmers, and they have been doing so. It's in generations. The second thing, in Alberta, we have an amazing education system. Meaning you can really find awesome talent from U of A, Calgary, Grand McEwen. Like there's a lot of places. And the third thing now, to be honest with you, like in Edmonton and Alberta, Calgary or Edmonton in general, the entrepreneurs are really wanting to help each other, Lynette. And here's a life example. You are spending time, you're helping us today. Reg is on the call, Health Cities, like we're doing this to help each other. I'm learning from you, I'm learning from the team who are attending. I'm trying as much as I can to share my mistakes so that they don't go through those as well. So I think this culture, I think you will not find it in other places. So the culture of entrepreneurship, the culture of willing to truly help and collaborate, and kind of being kind of this kind of community that have amazing skill sets, you have in other places. I think that's a core foundation for us to build. And I think even direction from government that they were willing to diversify, investors who are diversing their money now and looking into startups, I think that's the perfect intersection for us to build organization.
Again, I couldn't have said that better myself. So maybe we'll have to get you in one of our commercials or something. Well, I think that's, that's really all the time we have for today. Thank you so much to everybody for the questions and for your participation, and special thanks to you, Saher. That was a lot of wonderful information. Thank you for sharing your insights and just being available to other companies and entrepreneurs in our ecosystem. And so this was the third in our series. And if you're interested in learning more about this series or any of the other initiatives that Health Cities has going on, please visit healthcities.ca. And you can also sign up for Health Cities newsletter there to find more about any future series that we may have and any other events that Health Cities decides to put on. So they're a real proponent and supporter of our entrepreneurs in our ecosystem. So thanks to Health Cities on behalf of Invest Alberta, and thanks to everyone else who's participated. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thanks.